So you're looking at getting a 50cc, but you don't know whether to go for a geared or a moped. Today we're going to look at the pros and cons of which one you should buy. Now there are pros and cons to each of them, and we're going to go through that individually. Hello my fellow riders and welcome back to Riding Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at the difference between a moped and a moped. This one is a geared motorcycle style moped. This one is a step-through moped. Now both of them have their pros and cons, and both of them have their downfalls. So we're going to go through those together. Storage wise, both of these bikes have the capability of having a top box, which means a big box that you can put on the back to store your motorcycle helmet or motorcycle clothing or whatever it is that you want to store whilst riding your bike. This does come in very handy if you do go to college or school or whatnot and want somewhere to leave your helmet during the day. The moped does come with extra storage under the seat. Now this storage is shaped like a helmet, but it doesn't actually fit a helmet. It is again good enough to put some clothing in, good enough to put your lock in, whatever you want to do. It has about a 10 to 15 litre capacity in there, but we have tried it. You cannot fit a full face helmet in pretty much any mopeds now. I don't know, originally maybe the helmets were a little bit smaller and they haven't changed the molds, but yeah, you can't really fit a motorcycle helmet inside the scooter anymore. Now you've got to remember that these are 50cc's and legally they can only go 30 miles an hour. Both of these bikes can be de-restricted once you reach the age of 17, but they are de-restricted in different ways, and the motorbike style you will be able to get slightly higher top end speed because of the way the gearing works. That being said, generally on a moped, this one, you will be able to get a slightly better pull off and slightly better hill speeds because again it works on a different gearing setup. This one has something called a variator, which means that there's a roller, it has a cone on it, and the belt goes up and down that cone, which means that it's pretty much got infinite amount of gears. Whereas a motorcycle only has 4 gears, which means that generally when you change your gear, you are going to lose a little bit of that speed, a little bit of that momentum going up that hill. Now when a bike is restricted as well, it's got a hard limit to how fast it can go. It will go to 7,000 RPM and then it'll hit that limit on each gear, which means that when you're dropping down gear, your bike is probably going to try and back off a little bit so that it gets under the 7,000 RPM limit. As on a moped, it doesn't use exactly the same technology. It has a sensor on the back clutch system that detects how fast the wheel is going, and when it goes past a certain RPM, it will start backing off the power, which means that you've got instant rejuvenation on power when the power goes, i.e. going up a hill. It will detect that your back wheel was spinning slightly slower and feed you some more power, whereas a motorcycle will not do that. It cannot detect that you're going up a hill and it will not give you more power. You have to do that by dropping down a gear, and you are going to lose a little bit of momentum. Also on a motorcycle moped, you will have to do the gears, you will have to learn how to use the clutch, but it is a very good idea to learn on something small like this for when you go up to a bigger bike, because the gear patterns are usually the same. They may have an extra gear or 2 on your next bike, i.e. 125 or bigger. The clutch will be slightly different on the new bikes, 125 or bigger, but essentially it gives you the technique on how to use it, how to control that clutch, how to crawl, how to change gear. So this is a very good bike if you're going to go for a bigger bike afterwards. Now, motorcycle or moped, as I said, they are both restricted to 30 miles an hour. The motorcycle will be able to get a little bit more power once it's restricted. You'll be looking somewhere in the 45-ish range. Whereas the moped, you will be looking at somewhere in the 38 mile an hour range, because you do lose a little bit of that top end speed on the variator gearing system. Power output, essentially they've both got the same amount of power. The very top end of the engine, i.e. the piston, the barrel and the head, are essentially the same regardless of whether you go to a moped or a motorcycle. Now, one thing that most people will comment on is mopeds are not as cool as they used to be. You could have a YM50 RE, which looks like a 600cc superbike, and it looks beautiful. It looks really, really nice. Mopeds are mopeds. Usually it doesn't matter if you get them from Yamazaki, Lexmoto, WK, MGB. Essentially, they're all the same. They all pretty much have the same engine, which is a GY6 engine. And other than a couple of little tweaks, Lexmoto did the Echo and the Echo Plus. Echo Plus had bigger wheels and slightly more power, but essentially they're all the same. So yeah, the moped probably isn't as much in fashion anymore. But another thing to consider when you are going on either a moped or a moped is seat height. Now, all motorcycle mopeds are designed for somebody of approximately 5'9", which is my height. The reason they do this is because the average person in the world, for middle-aged sort of person, is 5'9". There are taller, there are shorter, but the vast majority of people middle age are approximately 5'9". Now, if you are slightly bigger, you will have to go for the motorcycle, because otherwise you're going to be having your knees up against your ears if sitting on a moped. But if you are a lot smaller, then the moped is the way to go, because even if you can't touch the floor whilst riding, you can always scoot forward slightly to be able to put your feet on the floor and make it safe for when you stop. Essentially, that is the differences between a moped and a motorcycle. There is slight price differences. Generally, motorcycles are a little bit more money, but not a massive amount. This one here comes in $1649 plus OTR. This one comes in at $1749 plus OTR, and that is the cheapest motorcycle you can buy at the moment in the UK, and this is the cheapest 50cc scooter you can buy in the UK. So the difference is £100. That may not make a big difference to you, but there you go. Lighting wise, this one has LED lights, this one has bulb lights, but as you go up to the next model, majority of motorcycles and mopeds nowadays come with LED lighting. So anyway, here is just a quick snapshot on what the differences are between a motorcycle and a moped. They are both classed as mopeds. You can ride both of them at the age of 16, and you can ride both of them if you have had your driving license since February 2001 without doing a CBT. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up to tell the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy my content. Remember that on my website I do have a shop with some select items. All proceeds go to supporting this channel. But as always, ride safe.